Well, Alice Springs' record-breaking crime statistics have been transformed into an orchestral composition to try and create a message of hope. Composer David Crowe has created melodic fragments by encoding crime statistics via a synthesizer and a chamber orchestra. The 6-minute piece is called To Face the Sun. And composer David Crowe joins me now live. David, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. This is incredible. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. Look, like many people in Alice Springs earlier this year, I was forced and called to action, hearing about the crime wave and the response to the crime wave. And so what I decided to do as a musician and as a composer was to turn these statistics directly into musical notes. So what I did, for example, was take a number like 3,424 property offences in 2022, and I converted those to musical notes, to scale degrees. So 3-4-2-4 would become mi, fa, re, fa, and I programmed them into the synthesizers, and I scored a composition for strings to go along with that.
Wow, that is incredible. It must have taken you some time to do that. Were you surprised how well it turned out?
I was surprised. I've been working on this on and off since January, and I was really happy with how it's been received. Look, it did take a long time, and it took me 3 rewrites to actually come to this final version. But I'm happy with how it's come out, and it's really sort of rejuvenated the discussion around crime. And I wanted to kind of spark a more balanced discussion around crime, because we saw the Alice Springs crime issue become somewhat of a political football earlier in the year, leading up to the referendum. So it's nice to see some balanced discussion and some people in town really trying to do some positive things to just inject a little bit of hope and positivity into the community.
And you were saying that it's been well received so far. I read that you have already debuted it. What's been the feedback that you've received?
Look, initially when people hear this idea, they think, what the heck? I mean, what is the connection between programming synthesizers and trying to improve the youth crime situation? And I can understand on the surface that's confusing. But what I tried to do here was to kind of bring to light the disconnect between the cold, dark reality of the crime statistics. And I represented them with the sounds of the synthesizers. And then with the string parts, I tried to really bring a sense of hope and the human element of this story, which of course are people in the town who are victims of crime, and the kids, predominantly kids who are perpetrators of crime. It's a people issue, it's a human issue, and I tried to bring that side of the story to light through the strings.
And obviously it's been the crime situation at Alice Springs, as we know, dominated the headlines for quite a lot of this year. And you said you want this to be a message of hope. What does this say about what music can do and the power of music?
Look, music is such a powerful force. It's such a powerful way of bringing people together. It has been for millennia. And art in general is a really powerful way to tell stories and probe and investigate important issues going on in society. So I hope that this piece of music, at least in a small way, is able to do that, is able to maybe shed some light in a unique way on this issue and inspire other people to try and come up with creative solutions to this problem.
And if you don't mind me asking, you are, of course, at Alice Springs local. Do you believe that the right steps are being taken to address this issue?
Look, I've lived here for 12 years, and as the victims of crime, I mean, the crime doesn't discriminate between people who've lived here for a few weeks or people who've lived here their whole life. It affects everyone. It's obviously not a nice thing to go through. And people have been throwing money at this issue for years and years and years. And to be honest, there are thousands of people here in Alice Springs and in other regional centres around Australia trying really hard to tackle this issue. But when it comes down to it, we're talking about youth who are bored, youth who have a sense of hopelessness and often are peer pressured, and they live in a less than ideal home situation. And the only way to tackle this is to really look at improving the home life of these kids and their domestic situation. And we're talking about quite complex social issues. They're not easy to tackle, and I think it's a long-term solution. And there are a lot of people trying hard, and I think there are a lot of people doing great things, but we need to have this long-term vision.
Oh, look, absolutely spot on there. I'm sure there's still a while to go. David, you've called this To Face the Sun. Why?
The sun to me represents that sense of hope and warmth that's perhaps missing in our youth here in Alice Springs. And it's something to aim towards. I wanted this piece to have a sense of hope and positivity, despite being written about a somewhat negative topic. But the sun can also be harsh, it can be blinding. And I think the title sums up this duality of the composition and perhaps the polarisation of the Alice Springs crime issue in political terms. So to me, it was a fitting title.
It certainly is. David, what's next? What more will you be doing with this beautiful piece?
So next weekend, we're doing a professional recording of this piece, a studio recording. There's been a lot of interest in people wanting to hear the piece, so that will hopefully be rolling out really soon. We're looking at some other orchestras around the territory and nationally who might be interested in performing this composition for synthesizers and strings. And myself, I'm working on some new orchestral material and an album with a songwriter called Catherine Sator. So I'm busy with those projects at the moment.
Well, David, congratulations. All the very best with your work. And as I said, it's absolutely incredible that you have done this. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.